Thank you. Only on 20 years ago this weekend, the most destructive wildfire in Arizona history broke out, quickly threatening communities in Arizona's White Mountains.
By the time the Rodeo-Chediski Fire was out, 300 homes had burned, and people living in Heber-Overgaard were left to start all over again. That fire would eventually destroy 468,000 acres of ponderosa pine.
Team 12's William Pitts headed back to the White Mountains to talk with the people who were on the fire lines about what they saw and what has changed.
Most people remember the smoke. A massive column rising and collapsing like a volcano in the middle of the forest.
Let's go. Let's get you guys out on the line.
Firefighters were brought in from around the country. The Rodeo-Chediski Fire was headed for homes, and they needed all the help they could get.
Right now, they're just trying to maintain a fire line and keep the fire out of the canyon.
Dee McCluskey was a firefighter in Scottsdale when he was dispatched to the fire line 3 hours away.
The calls kept coming in, do you have this, do you have this, do you have this? And then our neighboring departments calling us, hey, if we can do this, we'll share resources.
Soon he and his crew were on the road, headed for the fire lines. In town, Wade Allen was being told to expect the worst.
It was the first time any of us had experienced a large wildland fire, much less something of that magnitude.
The Heber-Overgaard Fire District was small. They had just become full-time. Most of the firefighters had been volunteers. Now full-time firefighters facing down a towering monster.
I remember the day we saw the Chediski column building, and we kind of knew that we were going to be right between the two.
There were two fires burning that day. The rodeo fire, started by an out-of-work firefighter near Sibique. He was later charged with arson and served 10 years. And the Chediski fire started 2 days later as a signal fire by a lost quad rider who was never charged. Both had exploded in size and grew together.
The day it hit, it came in so fast and so hard that even with the amount of fire trucks, we had trucks from all over the country that were here by then to assist with the fire. As that fire came in, we knew we weren't going to save everything.
This is it, folks.
We were told that everything on the south side of 260 is already written off. It felt like a ghost town. It was just a very surreal feeling. When you go somewhere else, you know, you're dealing with somebody else's neighborhood, but this was our neighborhood. These were our friends and families. And so it made it really personal for us.
Then the fire crashed into town.
It was like being in a war zone.
60, 70 foot tall ponderosa pines, largest pine stand in the world. And it's thick and it's dry. And this is dangerous.
On the one side, the trees were on fire. You had flames, 150 feet in the air, raining ashes down on us.
When it turns to darkness in the middle of the day, and it's smoky and it's ugly, it makes your hair stand on end.
This fire close, just 200 yards.
The rodeo fire has mounted its heaviest attack so far.
By the time the fire passed, almost 300 homes were destroyed. Most of the town wiped off the map. There used to be forest everywhere. 20 years later, it still hasn't recovered.
From time to time, I think about some of the stuff that we went through, and especially that day that we were sent in. Like I said, it was a pretty intense day.
The Rodeo-Chediski Fire was the most destructive in Arizona history. When it was all over, fire officials reassessed almost everything they knew about fires.
Flip your tool around for me.
They formed a wildland firefighting academy to make sure firefighters all used the same terms, the same information. In 2003, then-President George W. Bush signed the Healthy Forest Initiative into law. Bush had toured the Rodeo-Chediski Fire and met with evacuees. Healthy Forest changed how the forest was managed, allowing logging in order to reduce fire danger. And in Heber-Overgaard, 20 years later, people still remember the fire that almost destroyed the town. And they're always watching for the spark that could trigger the next one.
If somebody's having a fire on a day they're not supposed to have a fire, we're going to know about it.
Homes were rebuilt. The town has come back. But it's forever changed by the scar of one of the worst wildfires in Arizona history. In Heber-Overgaard, William Pitts, 12 News.
People always, in Arizona, if you've been here long enough, they talk about that fire.
Absolutely.
And what I forgot until I saw Will's story was that both of those fires were intentionally started. Yeah. One by someone that was lost, the other by a disgruntled firefighter. Right. And then they merged into this super fire.
Yeah, mammoth. And I came in '03. And I've heard so many stories, not just from, what people see on the air, but just the coverage and the news behind it and the manpower and how crews were there for weeks on end, and the firefighters, how they just slept out there. I mean, it is incredible. And you think about all the fires that we have now and how mammoth those seem. You look at something like that, that is just surreal.
Oh yeah, that dwarfs anything
Yeah.
that we're seeing right now. Yeah.